Handoff, Adrian up the middle, room to the 20, cuts to the left to the 25, and Adrian's loose! He splits the defense! 50, 40, 30, goodbye, baby! Touchdown!
We bleed purple, and our bones are gold. Hear the horns coming out of our dome, behold. We are Minnesota Vikings fans. We love when a player scores, we roar, ignite the stands.
Hey there, everyone. You were listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. Out there, I am accompanied by Adam Carlson and Kyle Smith. As always, gentlemen, how are you?
Oh, it's a great day. More Vikings football is approaching rapidly. Regular season's just around the corner.
You smell
Good
that?
times.
That's football in the air, people.
Football
By now,
counts.
you should all have done your fantasy football drafts, and everything should just be ready to roll.
Speaking of fantasy, I believe, Adam, was that you that just did one with me?
I did.
That was a good one. I almost missed my shot there.
That was a strange league, though. The settings are kind of odd. But hey, it should be fun anyway.
Hope you guys got lots of Vikings on your roster.
I have 0.
I think I have 0 as well.
You-
I didn't get.
You gentlemen are traitors to the cause.
No. The league that we just got out of the draft in, there were Vikings. I'm talking defense. Blair Walsh and Cordero went way too early. We have some dedicated Vikings fans in that one, but if that's the guy you want to go with, we can't tell you otherwise. But
Definitely, there's nothing wrong with being a homer if you're having fun.
I would pick all Vikings. That would be my strategy.
That was the first year. Fun fact of the day for all the fans and you guys. First year I ever did fantasy was the year after 2010 when we did really well. I drafted Favre, Sidney Rice, I think Bernard Berry, and I drafted a bunch of Vikings, and I came in dead last.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no.
yeah.
B
It'd be
twice.
okay if you did.
Say B twice on your fantasy football squad there.
That's right.
Not bad. There's a throwback 2 minutes into the podcast this week. All right, I'll get back to that.
Okay, Adam, we need a show number, and we need to know what's going on. So direct the conversation.
Absolutely. I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 114 of the Purple People podcast. This episode is titled Thielen on Me.
For all
We've
you
got
guys
some...
that-
What's
Oh,
that?
Go ahead.
I was just going to go into the quick hits unless you got something to add.
Oh no, just for all those Vikings fans that nerd out with us, that you can't top Adam's show titles. I've tried. It's just not possible. Kudos, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I like Lean on Me. That's a classic right there. But going into the quick hits, I purchased Madden 15 today, and I've been playing it quite a bit. I'm loving playing as the Vikings so far. I'm already on all Madden. But one thing that's getting me mad is that they don't have the accurate Vikings jerseys. The numbering does not have the little sails, the serifs on the numbers. I don't like it.
Not surprised.
I'm not really surprised either, but for a game that prides themselves on being the most realistic, almost football simulation out there, you'd think that a little detail like numbering wouldn't be a big deal.
Maybe that's a hint to the Vikings design department. That no one really likes those little extra swoosh things.
I know one thing Vikings fans do love, though, and that's when Vikings players end up in the Hall of Fame. Mick Tingelhoff, legendary Vikings center, was nominated as a senior nominee to enter. All he needs is a 2/3 majority to enter the Hall of Fame, and right now, based on what I'm hearing around the league, it sounds like it's nearly a lock. So, good job, Mick Tingelhoff, on your career. Thank you for everything you've done with the Vikings, and you deserve to be in the Hall, sir.
Very much deserved induction on his behalf. He played something like, I don't know if you have it in front of you, Adam, the number of years he played without missing a game.
I want to say 17.
I was going to say 17 too. Like, it is a crazy, crazy number. He played for the majority of the Vikings' dominant years, and then, afterward. Like, he was there for a long time in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He was there through the entire Purple People era, and he's a guy that was one of those brutal guys on an offensive line that you just wanted there, that had that mean streak and could play, but was actually a really nice guy. So, well, is a nice guy because he is still alive, of course. I don't want to use past tense on a guy that's still alive because that's kind of awkward. But yeah, congrats to Mr. Tinglehoff on that.
Yeah, I really hope he gets in. Really do.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
The biggest news this week, however, came when Matt Castle was named the Vikings starting quarterback over Teddy Bridgewater. Most fans already knew that this was coming, so it wasn't a big shock. But there were a lot of fans out there that wanted to see the young guy thrown into the fire to see what he could do, and that's probably not the best thing for him. So I think that the coaching staff made the right decision here. Let him go, let him grow is one of the taglines that they use up here where I live during hunting season, to where if you see a little deer, let him grow because they'll be bigger. Teddy Bridgewater's a little deer right now. Let him grow a little while before you slap a tag on him.
Doesn't surprise most Vikings fans that Matt Castle was named the starter. I think we all expected it. What does surprise me, and this is a little bit of a side tangent, but the number of people that I've seen online that were saying that Sean Hill, the quarterback who's going to be taking over for St. Louis, now that Sam Bradford is out, listing the starting quarterbacks in the NFL that they believe that he's going to be better than, the number of people who are saying that he's going to be better than Matt Castle was surprising to me. Like, I don't believe that at all, but, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but...
Sean Hill's been a solid backup, and he's got a 50-50 record as a starter, so who knows? He could play well.
He could, but I wouldn't say that he would be a better starter than Matt Castle, but then again, we are Vikings bias a little bit, and not afraid to admit it.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Just to piggyback off you, Kyle, I don't think that Sean Hill's terrible. Like I said, he's been pretty reliable in and out, consistently, half there, half not, like Adam said with the stats. But I think I would lean towards Matt because of the supporting cast. He's definitely got a better supporting cast offensively. Now, St. Louis's defense is safe to say, I would say it's the top 5 in the league almost. They're very stout, especially the D-line. But as far as the supporting cast goes, I don't think St. Louis's offense can match up to what we have and what Matt Castle has. But on the piggyback, I'm sure we'll talk about this in a little bit too. There were some trade talks from one of our Vikings quarterbacks because Sam Bradford went down, but we're going to save that for later.
I'll rant on that one later.
All right. Another guy that ranted in a press conference this week was Mike Zimmer about his dislike for outside evaluation sources, specifically noting Pro Football Focus, which is a page that I like to visit on a regular basis because I like the information that they give, but you can't take that kind of information as gospel because you don't know player assignments and things like that. But I like it as an addition to watching the game and seeing things with your own eyes. I'm a firm believer in the eye test. So seeing a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on it doesn't do much for me. But I'd rather watch the game and evaluate the players myself. If my evaluation matches up with theirs, that's fantastic.
I like it. I love it. I love the fact that we have a head coach who's got no filter. I know Kyle Smith will agree with me on that one. And I totally get what Mike Zimmer is saying. It reminds me, and I'm sure you guys will remember this as well too, Jim Mora Sr. back in the day when he had his rant as the head coach of the Saints about how, you think you know, but you really don't know. Like, you really, really don't know. When he went off on the reporters on that one. And that was exactly what Mike Zimmer is saying. Like, we can talk about the eye test and what we think as fans, but ultimately we don't know what the Vikings were asking them to do. So to really sit down and put a grade to it might be a little unfair, but on the flip side, on Twitter, there was a really good, valid point that some people brought up when they said that, isn't that what your college coaching staff does when they evaluate like players coming out of college? Like, you don't know precisely what they were asked to do, but your staff sits down and grades them and you draft them based in part on those evaluations. So it is, I'm give and take on the issue. I can see both sides of it.
But that's their first-hand internal observations. They're not going from a third party.
I agree, but it is the same sort of concept that you do.
All that means to me is that Zimmer trusts his internal auditors better than the people out there as doing external evaluations.
Mhm.
That's all it means to me. It's not a big deal. I'm sure he looks at the numbers and I'm sure he knows what they mean. I know that in the
Well,
press conference he said that he doesn't know what a plus point eight is or whatever, but he knows. He's no dummy.
I mean, if our staff is so stupid that they got to go to Pro Football Focus to see what someone else is ranking their team, like, get out.
You could always go to Cover 32 where they say that the Vikings will be lucky to win 4 games this year.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's what they
I'm
say.
going to find the editor for that, and I'm going to call him after the season. I want to pick back one for 2 seconds on that too. It's I don't know. All you guys listening have heard me come and being added to the show. I like to look at things from a different point of view and off to the side. This is why Mike Zimmer took so long to get hired, and now that he is, I love that he hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
They've said that plenty of times, especially with the hire. Mike knew what to say for years. He should have been a head coach years ago, but he's not the best interviewee. But it's not a bad thing now because he's going to tell you like it is. And that's why me and Adam and Kyle love him as a coach. And you guys should be fired up about it too. He's going to tell you how it is, what he thinks. And he's very, very experienced too. And he knows what he's talking about. He knows every little thing the Pro Football Talk's saying. And, he's not going to, like I said, he's no dummy. But he's not going to pay into that. And this part of the thing the media does. They like to try to bait you in with questions from the way they ask them. And he just refuses to answer it and play the game. And I absolutely love that about him.
The thing I love is that his attitude seems to be spreading throughout the whole coaching staff. The new offensive coordinator, Norv Turner, actually said close to the same thing in the same tone, talking about when a reporter referenced a Pro Football Focus grade in reference to Matt Khalil.
Mm-hmm. I heard that in his interview, and that was that's when I thought of the Jim Mora rant. It's like, well, that was exactly what he was saying, way back in the day as well.
So I like that this aggressive attitude is not only on the football players on the field, but it's also coming from the coaching staff because there have been too many years of just complacency and we'll review the tape and all that kind of stuff. It's so nice to see an aggressive, fun coaching staff. It's nice.
I couldn't agree more. I think that if you carry that attitude in anything in life, whether you play sports, whether you record music, whether you're coaching, whether you're raising kids, I mean, you've got to be proactive, and I think that's the first step to being successful. It's okay to try something and fall on your face, and there's a motivational speech for the day. Actually, you know what? We did that today at work. I'll give you the motivational quote for the day, and I think that's something that the Vikings, if any of the Vikings players listen, it was a Bruce Lee quote because my boss is awesome. It's like, if I told you I'm good, you would call me a boastful, but if I told you I'm not good, then I'd be lying. So I think that's the attitude we should have, and they've said it before, and a lot of other teams have said it before, but I heard it on one of I think it was the helmet cams or Vikings Wired something, and said, why not us? And that's the attitude that the coaching staff brought, and I love it. I think that's the attitude we should have.
I always seem to be ripping on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I don't mean to.
You kind of mean to, Adam.
But they did this one to themselves. Have you ever seen the artwork that Jacksonville has when they're going onto the field?
Oh, good God, yes.
Okay, on the left side of the doorway leading out to the field, there's a large drawing of a huge fist. And on the right side, there's wording. It says, "Keep it tight." I would not be able to walk out that doorway without laughing so hard.
They're lucky they don't employ Michael Sam. Was that too much?
I wouldn't have gone there, no.
I will.
I would have expected if you had keep it tight, the fist would be turned into a shocker.
Oh, no.
No, all right. We got to keep this PG. Sorry, guys. We had to let funny jokes out about fists and tightness. So, well, let's talk about the Chiefs game, I guess.
No, let's go back because I'm not done with
my
kids here.
Yes.
Because tight end Chase Ford was activated from the PUP list. Apparently that foot has healed nicely. I'm excited to see him come back and make a pretty good impact on the team. I see him as a guy that has a really solid chance of making the roster.
That was a bad transition into tight end.
No way. Keep it tight. The Vikings completed their first round of cuts down to 75. There were a couple surprise names on the list. I actually felt that 3 of them were a surprise. Most people only felt that there were 2, but I'll read them off. Safety Brandon Bishop, offensive tackle Pierce Burton, cornerback Derek Cox, wide receiver Andy Cruz, wide receiver Kamar Jordan, wide receiver Eric Laura, offensive tackle Kevin Murphy, defensive tackle Keyston Randall, defensive ends Tyler Scott and Jake Snyder, tight end Corey Speary, cornerback Robert Steeples, wide receiver Ty Walker, safety Mistral Raymond, and tight end Mike Higgins. Now, the three that I felt surprised by was Derek Cox. I figured he'd be one that would last longer in the cuts. Same with Mistral Raymond. I saw him making it longer. The one I'm really kind of disappointed by is Eric Laura. I really expected more out of him from camp. I thought he could be one of those guys that just came in and impressed on a regular basis, but in the preseason games, he never really left that impression on me. So Laura is one of those guys to still keep a watch out for, but I'm kind of disappointed he didn't flash much this preseason.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Eric Laura first, Adam, because he's one of those guys, and this happens every single year when you go up there to training camp and you get the opportunity to see players and meet players and whatever. And Eric was one of those guys that I had the opportunity to meet with, and so you end up rooting for them a little bit more. And you kind of know it was going to be really tough for him to make the team. I would have liked to have seen him get maybe more of an opportunity than what he had, but like you said, you got to make the most of the moments that you are out there on the field. So who knows, maybe he will pick up on the practice squad or with another team, but we wish him the best of luck either way.
Definitely. But the real surprise on the list was Derek Cox getting cut this early.
Yeah, definitely.
He was a guy that was really hoping for a career turnaround after struggling with the Chargers. A former all-rookie team player, made the Pro Bowl, I believe. He was a guy that could have had a career resurrection, but for some reason it just didn't work out here in Minnesota. I know he's already drawing some attention from other teams, and there's good reason for that, because he does have those skills. But I'd like to wish him the best of luck as well. And that's all I've got for my quick hits. I'm going to pass it off to Kyle Smith, who I believe has something from our Facebook page.
It's actually for me and Kyle West. I'm piggybacking because I was lazy this weekend. Been on vacation for the last 8 days. Went back to work today, and now I'm back in, and it was all messed up. I should have just taken one more. But the ever clever Kyle West posted about 7 hours ago on the Facebook page, the Purple People Podcast Facebook page, saying, and I'm just going to read it off verbatim. I enjoy keeping track of the careers of former Minnesota Vikings as they journey through the NFL. But unfortunately, these former players, they were not able to make it past the first round of roster cuts this season, and they are from other teams. Safety Tyrell Johnson, cut by the Falcons. Wide receiver Torrey Gurley, cut by the Bills. Wide receiver Chris Summers, also cut by the Bills. Running back Darius Renaud, cut by the Bears. And quarterback McLeod Bethel-Thompson, cut by the 49ers. And this is where we turn it over to you fans. Is there anyone from this list that you would like to see get a second shot here in Minnesota? Tell us why or why not. And the ever popular answer, it's over 75%, is McLeod Bethel-Thompson. And I have to put it in there. It's like every week we have to apologize. Some people would rather replace him as our third quarterback than one Christian Ponder, which plugs me into something else that we could talk about. I had to wish Sam Bradford, and for those of you that saw it this weekend, it was Adam Bradford, thanks to my iPhone. I apologize. I'm well aware of it's not Adam Bradford. Give me a little bit more credit than that. But yes, that was totally my fault. But we here, all three of us at the page, want to wish Sam Bradford a speedy recovery.
Absolutely.
It really sucks. A number one overall pick to be injury prone like that, especially back-to-back years in the same injury. It's heartbreaking. I know St. Louis fans are probably devastated because they think he has a lot of potential. I thought he had good potential, but unfortunately that brings us to the Sean Hill conversation we were kind of talking about earlier. A lot of people think that the Vikings might have wanted to deal with Christian Ponder, and I'll tell you why that's a bad idea. Even though Ponder is obviously our QB3, and he's not going to compete anywhere near for the number 2 spot, much less the number 1 anymore, he's still familiar with the system. We have a great new offensive coordinator who could probably whisper a little something in his ear. And I don't know. I don't like the idea of him going. Plus, any given Sunday, what happens if Matt and, God forbid, Teddy, knock on wood, here I go again, go down in the same week? We need to have somebody who at least knows the system. But I am all for if they went back to keeping 4 quarterbacks. McLeod would be the first person I would call. I liked watching him in the preseason last year, and I'm pretty sure if I'm looking on here, yeah, there's 4 or 5 people that want to bring McLeod back. So you still have love here, sir, and you weren't even here this season.
See, I'm in a little bit different of a camp because to me, I don't really care who the quarterback 3 is if the Vikings bring one, but I would want it to be a veteran rather than a rookie since they already have Teddy Bridgewater as the backup. So if they were able to deal Christian Ponder, I'd like to see them bring in a guy that's been in the league, maybe a former starter that fizzled out, a guy like Trent Edwards or something like that as a third quarterback. Mainly because I would like to see if Ponder is dealt, I'd like to see that cap. The salary cap is what I'm looking at here. Because Ponder's money is fully guaranteed. If they could trade him, they could relieve a lot of that cap. And then they could bring in a guy at a cheaper value and they'd have more salary cap to throw around next year.
Here's my rant, and I will keep it really quick about this. I understand the logic, the fan logic behind, hey, let's trade Christian Ponder to the St. Louis Rams and we can get a 5th-round draft pick and then we can all go have a brewski and do the Macarena because it'll just be awesome that Ponder's off the team. Here's why it's not going to happen. I don't mean to knock on the guy, but I'm going to knock on the guy. At what point in Christian Ponder's career have any of us ever sat down and actually said, boy, I bet he could go to another team and just pick up on another system in 1 week of preseason football and build all kinds of chemistry and lead another team to the playoffs in absolutely no time? None of us have ever said that. Why?
I'd actually like to interrupt you for a second there. The 1 year that Christian Ponder was the starting quarterback, named the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback, was the 1 year in recent history that the Minnesota Vikings made the playoffs.
But, Adam, he is not going to get traded to the St. Louis Rams, pick up an entirely new system, build all this chemistry with all these new receivers, and look good. That's not going to happen. They're not going to trade for him. That's dumb. It's not going to work.
But remember, too, that the Rams might not even be looking for a starter. They might be looking for a backup for Sean Hill now.
Mm-hmm.
This is very true. That would give him an opportunity to move up on the depth chart, but I do want to piggyback. That's why I love debating with you guys. I love, Kyle, your points, and Adam, I see yours too. Very, very, very intelligent way to think about it. I just want to say for that 2012 season, we did not make the playoffs because Christian Ponder. He was 18 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And it was all because of one Adrian Peterson.
And 2 rushing touchdowns. He nearly single-handedly won that 49ers game.
That's one game.
Ponder?
Yeah.
Yeah, but all the games where we had to hand it off and Adrian had to rush for 180 to 200 yards.
I'm not debating that Adrian Peterson was a huge part of that, but Christian Ponder was the starting quarterback. He had a 3-2 touchdown interception ratio. He had added some rushing touchdowns. He wasn't garbage that year.
No, not that year. But he progressed. He was supposed to progress last year and did much worse, which is kind of weird, especially when you get better weapons. And I don't know. We all know how the story played out. But
I feel like the odd man here. I'm defending Christian Ponder.
No, it's okay. You can do that. Number one, he's still a Viking. He did do some good stuff for us. But back for everyone saying that we thought we were going to trade him, as Adam said, we're gonna do it the best situation for our cap. And what Kyle was saying, I'm not trying to like force your guys' opinions to stop talking. Please keep going after this. But to say what you said for cap space, and then also what Kyle's saying is you gotta build rapport with a team. You gotta have leadership skills. You gotta show them that you're the first man there and the last man out. That takes at least a full offseason to do that for real. He's not gonna do it in 1 week. And for the people saying, oh, we should trade him, I would love to get a 5th-round pick for Christian Ponder right now, but is any team out there really going to give away somebody who's been in the system like Sean Hill? I wouldn't do it either.
Yeah, precisely. It's honestly Sean Hill being with him for I don't honestly know how long he's been with them, but he clearly should know the system enough that they would feel comfortable with him being their guy.
But going into talking about the Chiefs game a little bit, it's still odd that we didn't see Christian Ponder in this game.
See, I don't think so.
It makes me wonder if this coaching staff is really that low on him, or if what their plan is with him. because they never seem to have anything for him.
I think they know that there's no market for Christian Ponder. We're not going to try to artificially inflate one. So I feel like they pretty much known all along that Castle was going to be their guy. So they wanted to make sure that Castle gets the reps and the work with the first team. And then from there, it's all about building the future and setting the foundation for Teddy. And why are we wasting time with Ponder? Like, we've wasted enough.
Because it's an open quarterback competition, or it was.
Yeah, it's definitely not fair, but I think what they said before too, and a lot of the writers, NFL.com, CBS, Fox, whoever, ESPN, they've said it. We've seen what Christian Ponder can do, and we kind of know what he is and who he is, and it's not fair. And I know if you could talk to the guy and he knew there was nothing, no recording devices and nobody around, he'd probably tell you he was pissed, and he knew half of it was his fault, half of it because they got Teddy, they're not going to give him as much of a shot. But I think everybody could kind of sort of agree. You've seen the best of Christian Ponder, you kind of know what he's capable of. Now, on the flip side of that, to play devil's advocate to myself, with a brand new coaching staff who likes to light fires under people's asses, and you have a genius offensive coordinator like Norv, I would have been curious to see, had we not drafted Teddy, Christian's development. But I agree. You're going to give Castle as many reps as possible. I think it wasn't an open quarterback competition at all. I think they had to say that to build Teddy's confidence. That's just my opinion. I don't think Ponder had a shot once Teddy was drafted.
I think Teddy would have had to have blown him away in camp to take that starting job.
Exactly.
I think it was more of an open competition when we weren't all involved in it earlier. And I'm talking about during OTAs when there's no cameras and there's no media and they're letting people go out there. I think that was when it was more of an open competition, and we didn't really see what they were doing with Ponder. And I think as training camp progressed and whatever, it got more narrowed down to Bridgewater Castle.
It's true. The playing time in those games could have been a reward for hard work or good play during OTAs, training camp, whatever.
Can I go back to
that? Is very likely.
Got to go back to Jim Mora. We think we know, but we really don't know.
No, we don't. All we can do is guess. Let's talk a little bit more about this KC game, because the quarterback play on the surface looked awesome. I mean, Matt Castle with that long bomb to Cordero Patterson was nice. Bridgewater throwing 2 touchdowns. It was just so cool to watch. On the surface, awesome. But in actuality, it wasn't that great. Matt Castle only connected on 52.9% of his targets. Bridgewater, 57.1%. Neither one really blew anyone away. Now, a lot of that isn't completely the quarterback's fault. The Kansas City Chiefs' defensive line is full of freaks. Tamba Hali rushing against Matt Castle was a complete mismatch. Or not Matt Castle, but Matt Khalil. Complete mismatch.
Yeah, there was a couple times that Matt just got completely blown by. And we can say mismatch all we want, but we've got to see more from Matt. And I think he's doing a better job, and he's going to be a good, solid player for the Vikings.
I'm pretty sure he knows what he has to work on and where he's got to go from here. But the offensive line was probably one of the most disappointing parts of this game. And the fact that the running game got back on track because the offensive line actually did run block very well. But the struggle came in pass protection, and still the quarterbacks were able to get their passes off. Bridgewater was able to find time in the pocket with the second and third string offensive lines. We saw Phil Lodeholt go down with an injury. Gladly, it was nothing serious. Hopefully, he'll be back and ready to play.
I think he should be, from the reports that I've read, is that he should be right back in without really missing a step. Absolutely.
One of the biggest things was that some of the wide receivers who shouldn't be struggling are struggling. Greg Jennings 0 for 3 on his targets. Cordero Patterson dropped a wide open pass on third down that should have been an easy pickup and maybe even a touchdown.
Disappointed on both fronts. The drop by Patterson, you can at least say, well, he's a young player.
Right.
The one by Greg Jennings where he didn't get both feet in bounds, I was yelling at my TV. It's like, Greg,
You're a veteran. You know this.
You're a veteran. This is why we gave you all that money to come to Minnesota, is to make catches like that. Maybe he's thinking, hey, it's the preseason. I don't want to tear my foot up. I don't care.
Tap that toe.
Thank you. Tap the toe, get it in, make the catch. Then you can get your pat on the back and you can come out for the rest of the preseason game.
Keep it tight and tap that toe, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Tap it. So there's a lot of work to do still on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, you couldn't have asked for very much more from this Minnesota Vikings football team.
Nope.
Interceptions, sacks, pressures. There were players everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. We saw an aggressive defense that was making quarterbacks change their thought process. Players in the secondary that were jumping routes instinctively.
Mm-hmm.
Players just playing lights out football. And this is the kind of thing that I love to see from this Minnesota Vikings defense.
You betcha. It's starting to look like a Mike Zimmer offense. At least in my mind, it's starting to go that direction. We had Sean Prater, who came up with the interception, former Iowa Hawkeye. You betcha. I love you, Sean. Captain Munnerlyn had one. The one that bothered me on that one is that he brought it out of the end zone when he should have just took a knee. He really should have. But hey, you know what? Damn it. I got to at least respect the guy for trying to take it out and make a play.
Well, his history on returning interceptions for touchdowns is pretty good.
It is. So I'm not mad at him at all, but still, it's like, oh, the outcome of that one is like, I wish you kind of would have took a knee on that one.
Plus, it's preseason. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But I was so excited. I was so excited for Captain Munnerlyn to come to this team when we signed him, and no one, I don't feel like, was really talking about it that much. And when he did that, I stood up seriously, and I was like, that's why we signed him on this team. For plays like that.
Well, I'm going to jump in for 2 seconds, and I'm looking from ESPN. I'm looking at all the stats and stuff. I'm going to piggyback on what Adam said about our quarterbacks and transition to our defense that affected Kansas City's quarterback. So, yes, if you watch the highlight reel like NFL.com played, we looked badass. A big bomb from Matt Castle to Cordero Patterson for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater, I think his first 2 passes to Allen Reisner, 2 touchdowns.
Hawkeye.
Yes. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater has a 113.1 rating from this game, but he has 4 out of 7 completions. And Matt Castle was barely over 50, like you stated earlier. 78.6 rating, not anything spectacular, and he had an interception. Yes, on the highlight reel, we looked awesome. Stats don't lie. And I agree with you. It's not all of our quarterbacks' faults, but let's talk about Teddy for 2 seconds. He got some really good help from the D there, and there were 2 goal line
and the special teams. Don't forget that.
Yes. Oh, Adam Thielen, by the way, what a badass return.
Adam Thielen on me.
But leaning in to talk about that and sit to the defense that we had, our defense played, and like Kyle said, I know it's preseason, tuck it away, don't get too excited, but hey, this is the epitome of what having a pulse that Mike Zimmer will put into your defense looks like. Chad Greenway had an interception. We haven't seen one of those in a while. Captain Munnerlyn, like you said, he just wanted to run it back. I agree. He probably should have took a knee. That's what we paid him to do.
In the regular season, he probably would have, I'm betting.
Oh, probably, yeah. But this is what we paid him to do. He's got a very good rep for that. He's an underrated corner, and I'm really glad we stole him up. And Sean Prater, kudos to you, man. I'm really happy. I think he's going to make the team. But our defense forced one, and this is my transition, Alex Smith. I think he had 7 interceptions last year, if I heard that correctly the other day. He had 2 against our starting defense.
He's not a quarterback known to turn the ball over very often.
And guys, can I interrupt here for a minute?
Go ahead.
Didn't we have a horrible stretch last year of how many games was it in a row that we went without a single interception?
Oh. Mm-hmm. I don't think that was last year. I think that was the year before.
Was that the year before or some, I don't know, all those horrible memories.
We were really close to tying an NFL record for most games played without an interception.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris Cook. So
anyway, continue.
Oh, no, that's just what I wanted to point. Alex Smith, he's, if any of you guys are true NFL fans like ourselves in here and you look at the other teams, Alex Smith's been, I wouldn't say crying, but he's definitely been passive-aggressively saying, I want my contract. I am an elite quarterback, blah, 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 blah. And if you can't play against the Minnesota Vikings defense, and I am not undermining our team by any means, if you can't at least show your worth in the preseason and you throw 2 picks in your maybe half of a game that you play, You're not making your case, to get paid and get that big deal that you want. But that makes us look awesome, and I love it because it was against our first team. So kudos to the Vikings D. I hope they play like this all year, and I am ready for some rookies and some young guys to step up and play like that, because when they start playing like that, our vets are going to go lights out, and then we are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Oh, and by the way, we won this game. What's the score of this game again? 30-12?
Yep.
We won this game, and we still didn't have the possession time that Kansas City did too. That is one of my favorite stats you'll ever hear from me. Turnovers and time of possession.
Now, keep in mind the Chiefs were without their number one running back in Jamal Charles and the number one wide receiver in Dwayne Bowe.
This is very true. This is very true. Good call on putting that in there. But I just want to throw out, that's my favorite stat. One of them, my favorites anyways. Turnovers and possession. If you can cause turnovers and you don't have as much time as the other team has, you're kind of outplaying them. I mean, there's really no other way to say that. And I think we outplayed the Chiefs this week. I was really happy with it. Granted, we didn't have AP. They didn't have Jamal Charles or Dwayne Bowe. But you take what you can with what you have on the field, and we played really good all the way around. And that can lead it to you guys want to talk about special teams if you want
Absolutely.
to. Absolutely.
I actually felt that the Vikings won all three phases of this game.
When's the last time you said that?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Blair Walsh returned to form, connecting on all three of his field goals, all three of his extra points. He completed one kick that was 41 yards. For a guy that's been struggling a little bit, it's good to see him making some kicks outdoors and getting some momentum. I liked that. But a guy that performed a little better, in my opinion, Jeff Locke, averaged 48.5 yards per punt, one inside the 20, and he only had one fall into the end zone for a touchback. So he's a guy that's been criticized a lot recently for his punting efforts. This game alone should really help quiet that a little bit, and hopefully this kind of momentum will continue into the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about one of my favorite moments from the game now? Adam
Sure.
Thielen and his awesome return that he had.
That was just where I was going next, but go ahead, sir.
It was just so much fun to watch because here's a guy who gets signed last season to the practice squad. It's kind of a quiet, he's a local guy from Mankato that, we kind of quietly pull for. And you're really seeing him progress and come into his own. And he has definitely put his stamp on saying, I want to make this squad this year. He's really done it, and I think he will.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they can afford not to after the impressive preseason and camp that he's having. I just can't see a scenario right now based on what he's given us that he doesn't make the squad. And good for you. Good for you. It's a good, heartfelt story, and I just love the guy's work ethic and his grind and his passion to want to make plays. So kudos to you, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was a badass return. I wish it would have been for a touchdown.
Yeah, if the Vikings try to slide him onto the practice squad, he will be poached.
Definitely.
There's no question mark. A team looking for a punt returner or a wide receiver 4 or 5, they'll grab him in a second.
The Jets would pick him up in a heartbeat.
Yep. Ooh, good call.
Mm-hmm. I gotta hold on, Adam. I really briefly gotta mention the game that I was watching was telecast from the Kansas City
As was mine.
announcers, and it was so funny on Thielen's big return that he had is that they didn't even mention the fact that the Chiefs just gave up like a 70-yard kickoff return. Instead, they completely sidestepped it and were like, look who made the tackle for Kansas City. And I was like, yeah, oops, pardon my language, but he made the tackle 70 yards down the field, guys. Like, how much more could you sidestep what just happened? Good grief. It was really quite amusing.
Yeah, it was a bit of a Homer broadcasting. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But still, we get the same kind of Homer broadcasting when we watch the PA broadcast.
I love Paul Allen.
Next week's game, Vikings at Titans, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time. It's expected to be around 92 degrees at 7 p.m. That's kind of hard to believe, but that's what it said on the paper I looked at.
Awesome.
I really hope that's not true, because that would be hot. I don't expect to see many starters in this game. This is a game that mostly is for the hardest of the hardcore NFL fans to see the players that are going to be trying to make the cut from 75 to 53 or make it on the practice squad. Mike Zimmer has already said that there's a good chance, and I'll use air quotes on that that Bridgewater starts this game. And by that, you can say Teddy Bridgewater will start this game.
So do we see Teddy the full game, or do we see Ponder like after halftime, or what do you guys think?
Half and half. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah?
Any of you Thunder fans want to see him play for probably the last time? It's probably going to be this game. So get your number 7s out and tune in after halftime.
Is it kind of weird that I have Teddy Bridgewater and a Christian Ponder jersey? So I have the Vikings' second and third string quarterbacks jerseys, but not the starter.
Well, you can't buy a Matt Castle jersey in any of the Vikings stores, so not that unheard of, I guess.
I just think that's kind of funny. But there are plenty of guys to look forward to seeing on that Titans team, particularly Bishop Sankey, the rookie running back. This is a guy to keep your eye on. He could be a real stud in the NFL. I know a lot of people say that running backs are dead in today's football, but Bishop Sankey's a guy that might make people change their minds.
They still got Vince Young, right?
I don't think anyone's got Vince Young.
I'm kidding. That was a joke.
That was awesome. That was awesome was what that was.
Oh, poor Vince Young.
He got cut. Vince Young got cut by
now.
Cleveland.
They do have Jake Locker, though.
They do.
Who probably will not start.
Mettenberger, that's a good prospect to watch this weekend. I thought we were going to steal him in the second round. Glad we didn't, but he's been lighting it up from what I've been hearing. I heard about it today, so it's going to be an interesting game. See how the rookie QBs do. I'll be watching that for sure. If my damn Teddy Bridgewater shirt will get here, you guys, I'm not going to bomb a company on here. That'd be rude. I ordered it last Monday, and it's coming from Louisiana. I could have driven and gotten it 3 times by now. Give me my shirt.
But they're printing it special for you.
I talked about it on last week's podcast, for God's sake. It needs to be here already.
I ordered a Teddy Bridgewater jersey from China. Shh. And it got here within 2 weeks.
I was going to say, it's probably coming from Korea to Louisiana, from Louisiana to your house.
Touche on the Korea stuff. That is very accurate. I have a lot of friends stationed there, and I can get you some football jerseys if you really want some.
Your shirt should be there pretty soon, hopefully. Cross my fingers. I don't know if you'll have it by the preseason game, though. I hope so.
Cross your fingers, hope to die, stick a Packer in your eye.
Anything special that you're looking forward to in this game, Kyle West?
I have no idea. I forgot to research it.
Are there any fringe players for the Vikings that you want to see make a big impression? To me, I want to see if Teddy Bridgewater starts alongside guys like Adam Thielen and Rodney Smith, because to me, that would be a fun offense to watch.
I was going to say Rodney Smith. I'm going to watch him the whole game as long as he plays.
Does anyone have the roster in front of them? Who the heck was... actually, I do. I have a printed roster right here.
There you go.
43, Dominic Williams, the running back who came on at the end of the game that I have literally never heard of up until yesterday.
The big leap.
Never heard of him until yesterday. I don't know who the hell he is, but I'll look forward to seeing more of him. And maybe there's a good guy that we can slide onto the practice squad and see more from in year 2. Looking forward.
Surprised you don't remember him because I accidentally referred to him twice as Dominique Wilkins.
No, do not remember that. But the battle between Rodney Smith and Adam Thielen. Let's see how that shakes out. That's an interesting note.
I still have no more information on Jerome Simpson's appeal for his 3-game suspension.
Expect him to be out.
Out of the roster or out for 3 games?
3 games. I don't think we're going to get rid of him. He's kept his value as a 1 year contract kind of guy. I don't think we're going to get rid of him. That's just my opinion. But
I think his extremely low salary makes him almost a lock to make the roster.
Yeah,
if he was making more, I probably would be a little bit more on the fence about it. But now they can try to sneak another player through. So
I agree. I like Jerome. And how will we know if we've achieved a first down if he's not on the field?
He's always a big help in that department.
I love that. I'm so glad you said that. It's so awesome. Especially if it's him, especially if he get pass interference, he's going to remind you and everyone and find the nearest camera and let you know.
Jerome,
we love you, Jerome.
Jerome is awesome.
So Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time, live from Tennessee. You got to check out the final Vikings preseason game. And then we got 1 week off with no football. I know, make your sad faces, and that's okay. But then we got the Vikings opener against the Rams. So football isn't too far away, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and end the show with something very asinine, and people are going to be like, I can't believe you'd say that. I hope we lose this game because the history of undefeated preseason teams is not good. I hope everybody plays their asses off and we lose at the last second. Just to break that curse.
Hey, if Christian Ponder is in there, trust me, there is a way we will lose. He will find
Oh,
it.
no.
No.
On that note, I actually want to give Kyle Smith a moment to plug his band.
Oh, gosh. All right, guys. If the guys will let me, I will one day put up one of my favorite videos of myself, just kind of BSing. It's not football related, but maybe I'll record a new video in my new Bridgewater shirt if it ever freaking gets here. But I'm based out of Hampton, Virginia. I'm in a cover band. We do everything from Avenged Sevenfold to Bruno Mars to country music like Zach Brown. We are called Cheap Whiskey. If you want to check out my band, it's facebook.com/cheapwhiskeyva as in Virginia. It's what I do outside of work. I'm a military working dog handler, but on the weekends and some nights acoustically, I will be out jamming with my band. So, yeah, I'm the singer. If you want to check it out, hit up the Purple People Podcast Facebook page. See that plug.
I like it.
And shoot us a message. It goes to all three of us, but if I see my name in there anywhere.
And a huge, huge shout out. I don't have the page up, and I'm very sorry. Whoever posted the Newhart, Larry, Darrell, and Darrell picture, I laughed at that for probably an hour. Well, maybe not an hour, but I still laughed for a long time.
If you laughed for
big thank you on that one.
If you laughed for an hour, you have some sort of disorder that you probably should get checked out.
Okay, but it was hilarious.
It was really awesome, and I like the fact that someone made a Purple People Podcast meme. And that it was like a positive, sort of funny one.
A Purple People Podcast / Newhart, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, listen to these dipshits, they suck. Like, no, it was like an actual, like, funny, cool thing. So that was great.
I'm Adam, this is my brother Kyle, and this is my other brother Kyle. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and remind them to stay classy, Minnesota.